Yeah. Hey guys, I am Macko, and I have the privilege today to preach the Word of God. And before we get started, you know me, before I preach the Word of God, I like to honor some people. And I know what you're thinking, oh Macko, man, every time you preach up there, you keep honoring people, and it's just part of your intro, but it's not part of my intro. You know, this, for me, I believe in giving honor where honor is due. I believe that honoring people and encouraging people is such an important thing. And I only preach like what, 3-4 times a year, 2-3 times a year. So that kind of, to me, the way I see it is that I only get to honor people up here 3 times a year. So I make sure that when I'm up here, I honor some people. I honor. I don't know, today, when I asked God, who should I honor today, God? And I feel like God just wants to be some blind honors. Some blind honoring people. So I'm just going to honor one. You, Tita, in the denim jacket next to the handsome guy in the blue polo. I just want to say, you in the glasses, I just want to say that God sees what you're doing. God sees your faithfulness. You know, God sees that you're trying. So just keep going, because I know that His promise is closer than you think. And, you know, never stop praying. Never stop being faithful, because it's coming, Tita. What was your name, sorry? Lani. Tita Lani. It's coming, Tita Lani. So just keep doing what you're doing. Don't cry. It's supposed to uplift you. JC, man, what are you playing? But yeah. And yeah, that's my one. And this next honor is long overdue. This next honor is long overdue, because I've wanted to honor her before, but now I can, because we're official. So I just want to honor my girlfriend. Dude, you heard that? My girlfriend, Kimberly Mercado. Come on, Kim. Come up here, Kim. Come up here. Minsan lang to. Tito Sandy, Tito Belly, hello. Come up here, Kim. This honor has been long overdue. Come here, Kim. Yeah, I just want, let's go here in the middle. Come here. I just want to honor you, Kim. I just want to say thank you. She's really helped me through a lot. You know, especially we lead a life group called ULG, and it's not easy, and leading with you made it a lot more fun and a lot more easier. And you know, Kim and I, we went to uni together, and you made uni a lot easier and a lot more fun as well. And I just want to encourage you today that doors are about to open in your life, Kim. I know you've been waiting for things too. You know, you've been telling me a lot of things, but I know that God's about to do something great to you at the end of this 2020 and at the start of 2021, because 2021 is your year, Kim. And I'll be the first to say that I'm proud of you for where you have become, the woman you have become. And I know props to Tita Sandy and Tita Feli for being great parents. But you're awesome, Kim. You're awesome. Thanks. Oi, no. Oi, no. But yeah. Okay. And of course, I want to honor our pastor, our head pastor, June. Thank you for what you have done. You know, leading this church in 2020 must have not been easy. You know, you've been in, well, you've preached through the whole of Zoom. Everyone was in their pajamas, but you were still wearing your shoes, wearing your socks, wearing your fancy clothes. But you never gave up. You never gave up. Some pastors might have given up on their church because of COVID-19, because it's hard to lead, especially in the pandemic. But you never gave up. You kept trusting the Lord, that you believe that the Lord has something planned for this church, and you kept going. And we salute you. We honor you, Pastor June, for what you're doing in this church. We honor your life. And yeah, let's get started. That's my intro. So let's get started. No, not yet, Jace. We're gonna start off by reading the Word of God. And you know, we're doing it in Exodus. We're doing it in Exodus. And if you know me, we're doing it in Exodus. And if you know me, I like to preach the New Testament. And I haven't quite preached the Old Testament because for some reason I'm so scared of the Old Testament because it's so, I don't know, it's so, for me, it's unfamiliar ground. For me, it's like, it's such a long passage, you know. It's easier to preach from New Testaments for me because it's just a few verses. But God said, today you're going to preach about Exodus 13 and 14, 2 verses for you. So let's read. So it says here, when Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route to the promised land. God said, if the people are faced with a battle, then they might change their minds and return to Egypt. So God led them in a roundabout way through the wilderness toward the sea. Then the Lord gave these instructions to Moses. We skipped a few verses. We'll go to Exodus 14. And he said, order the Israelites to turn back and camp to Pi-hahiroth between Migdol and the sea. Camp along there, the shore across from Baal-zephon. The Pharaoh will think the Israelites are confused. They are trapped in the wilderness. And once again, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, God said, and he will chase after you. I have planned this in order to display my glory through Pharaoh and his whole army. After this, the Egyptians will know that I am Lord. So the Israelites camped there as they were told. When word reached the king of Egypt that the Israelites had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their mind and said, what have we done? Letting all those Israelite slaves get away, they asked. So Pharaoh harnessed his chariots, called up his troops. He took with him 600 of Egypt's best chariots, along with the rest of the chariots of Egypt, each with its commander. The Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, so he chased after the people who had left with fists raised in defiance. The Egyptians chased after them with all the forces in Pharaoh's army, all his horses and his chariots, his charioteers and his troops. The Egyptians caught up with the people Israel, and they camped beside the shore near Pi-hahiroth, across from Baal-zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people in Israel looked up in panic when they saw the Egyptians overtaking them. They cried out, Lord, why did you bring us here to die in the wilderness? Weren't there enough graves in Egypt? What have you done to us? Why did you make us leave Egypt? Didn't we tell you that this would happen when we were still in Egypt? We said, leave us alone, let us be slaves to the Egyptians. It is better for us to be a slave in Egypt than a corpse in the wilderness. But Moses told the people, don't be afraid. Just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. Got a few more. I told you the Old Testament's long. The Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to keep moving. Pick up your staff. Raise your hand over the sea. Divide the water so that Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on dry ground. And I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians. They will charge in after the Israelites. My great glory will be displayed through Pharaoh and his troops, his chariots and charioteers. When my glory is displayed through them, all of Egypt will see my glory and know that I am Lord. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all the night Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided, and Israelites went through the sea on dry ground and with a wall water on their right and on their left. Wait, I'm going to read that again. And the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and on their left. So the title of God's message today, church, is it's not a dead end, it's a roundabout. Tell the person next to you, you're not at a dead end, you're at a roundabout. Now, Macko, what are you talking about? You're at a roundabout. Let's talk about okay, JC, thanks for that. Thanks for that beautiful background, Jace. So let's give it up for JC. JC's the man. Now, the difference between a roundabout and a dead end is that a roundabout has an exit. You know, if you're a driver, you should know your exits, right? You should know that whether to take the first exit, the second exit, the third exit, the fourth exit. You should know the shortest way to where you're going as a driver. You'll know the shortest way, or the quickest way to things, right? But what if someone told you to not take the usual exit that you usually take? Take a different exit than the one that you usually take. For me, I don't like it when the passenger tells me where to go, because I'm the driver. You know, I know my way. I know this road. You know, Bucklands Beach is my road. Howick is my road. I know which exit to take. But there's one thing that I listen to, even if they tell me that to take this exit. I listen to Google Maps. Because Google Maps, you know, Google Maps, when it tells you to go to a different exit, you trust it. For me, I trust it. I don't know about you, but I trust Google Maps because Google Maps has all these algorithms, and they know that when you, let's say you want to take the first exit, but Google Maps says, no, you need to take the third exit. Google Maps knows that if you take the first exit, it may look clear. It may look clear right now, but at the end, or 5 minutes down the road, there's a congestion. You see, that's the same thing about God. You know, sometimes we feel like, God, I want to take this road of my life. I want to take this path, God. I want to take this main road. It's what everybody takes, God. I want to take this road. I mean, I've been taking this for 15 years. I've been taking this for 10 years, God. And I feel like it's going to work this time. But God sometimes tells you, take the third exit. Don't take the first exit. Because God knows that it may look clear, it may look easy, that exit may look easy, but further down the line, He knows it's going to harm you. He knows there's congestion. He knows there's traffic. So the first point that I have for you today is, oh, that's a map. Okay. Let's just talk about this for a second. So here, that message, that whole passage that we just read. So this is what happens, right? So they started at Ramses. So what they had to go was they had to go from Ramses to Canaan. So they were slaves here, but the promised land is here. So all they had to do was go through here, and it was go through like this northeast side was to go through there, and it would have took them 10 days to go from here to there. Now it says on this verse that, where is it? It says on this verse that God did not take them along the main road, which is to Philistine. Where did God take them? Instead of going through here, God took them around about here. See how when you look at it, you're like, Lord, what are you doing? Why are we going through here? Canaan's over here, but you're taking us here. That's the longer way. So the first point I have for you today is the road to His promise is not always through the main road. Not always through the main road. It's not always through the most common way. It's not always the easiest and the obvious way. It's not always the shortest way. It's not always through the status quo. It's not always just because a certain way worked for someone else, it doesn't mean that it will work for you, church. Just because you see that this person took this road and then they got their promise, maybe if I take this road, I'll get my promise too. It doesn't work like that with God, because the road to His promise is not always through the main road, church. Look, it says here on verse 17, God did not lead them along the main road that runs through Philistine territory, even though that was the shortest route. Some of us here are trying to take the shortest route. Some of you are trying to take some shortcuts. But God says, no, there ain't no shortcuts in my road. There ain't no shortcuts. It's the main. There may be a shortcut in the main road, but that road's not higher than my road. This is God's road now we're talking about, church. So God led them to a roundabout. God led them to a roundabout. Church, let me encourage some people today that just because a certain way worked for someone else, it doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Just because he graduated at 21, it doesn't mean you have to graduate at 21 too. Just because she got a job straight out of college, straight out of uni, it doesn't mean that you have to either. Just because they got married at 30, it doesn't mean that you have to get married at 30. Just because they got their visa within 2 years with living in here in New Zealand, it doesn't mean that you have to get your visa within 2 years with living here in New Zealand. Just because they got a house and 5 years of living here, it doesn't mean that you have to get a house too. Stop comparing the road that you're on to the main road of others. You were not meant for the main road, the usual road, the normal road. You see, you were meant to take His way and not the main road. Because what does it say in His Word? It says that His way is higher than any other way. Higher than my way, higher than your way, higher than the main way. You see, God knew, if we go back to the map, God knew that if they went through the Philistine territory, He knew, what does it say in this thing? He knew that if people are faced with a battle, they might change their minds and return to Egypt. He knows that if you take a certain road, you might go back to Egypt. Now, what do you mean, Macko, I might go back to Egypt? You see, if the Israelites go back to Egypt, they go back to becoming a slave. So if you take a certain road in your life, God knows you can't take that road because you might go back to your old self. You might go back to becoming a slave to sin, a slave to addiction, to insecurity, to depression, to unforgiveness, to anger, a slave to that stronghold that was holding you back from advancing to your promise before. So if God tells you to not take that first exit, you best believe to not take that first exit, because that first exit will lead you back to where you were. Why would you go back to the place that God took you out of? Think about that, church. Think about that. Why do you want to go back to your old self? So if God tells you that's not your road, yes, I believe you. Let me take the third exit. God knows that if you take the main road, you will go back to your old ways. He knows what's best for you. God will not bring you to a place, listen to this, God will not bring you to a place that He knows that you cannot bear. So if He knows that you can take that third exit, that second exit, go take it. Because He won't take you above your limits. He knows you can take it. He will be there with you. You see, the main road may look safer now, but God sees the dangers ahead. God sees the troubles ahead. God sees the temptations ahead. He could have and here's another thing. You see, what God could have done is the reason why, let's go back here, the reason why He didn't go through, He didn't let the Israelites go through here is because this is Philistine territory. This is enemy's territory, and He knew that if the Philistines go there, they will be in danger because they're not ready for battle. You see, they're slaves, and this is the Philistines, their great army. So what they think, we can go that way, that's the quickest way, but what they don't know is that they're not ready. They're not ready to face the Philistines. So God just took them around here. God took them around here instead of over here. But you see, what God could have done, you know, God's powerful. What God could have done is God could have let them stay here and just camp there for a bit and, you know, and train and pray and just get stronger as a nation. You see, He could have let the Israelites stay before the Philistine territory and set up camp there and set up a nation there for a few months to get stronger, and then they can take over Philistine territory and go to the promised land. But you see, God knew that that was a dead end. God knew if you stayed before Philistine territory, the Israelites would have been lazy. They would have been complacent. They would have been comfortable. They would have been like, you know what? This is good. This is good. This is better than Egypt. I mean, it's no promised land. It's no Canaan. It's none of those. But this is good. I'll stay here. You know, here, there's potential. There's potential in this place. But let me encourage some of you today and to think about this. Why would you ever trade potential when there's a promise waiting ahead? Think about that, church. Why would you ever say, yo, this thing has potential. This job has potential. This person has potential. This thing has potential. But why would you settle for anything less than His promise, church? Why would you settle for anything less than His promise? Never settle for potential when there's a promise waiting ahead, church. There's a promise waiting ahead. So God said, let me not keep you at this dead end of a Philistine territory. Let me lead you through this roundabout journey to a Red Sea. Now that leads me to my second point. The way to His promise is not always easy. Turn to the person next to you and say, there will be chasers. There will be chasers. There will be people chasing you. We often talk about how God pursues us daily, but we need to be reminded that the enemy is pursuing us too. Just like the Israelites, we often forget how powerful Egypt actually is. We often forget how powerful the enemy actually is. And it's not only that God pursues us, but the enemy pursues us daily too. He's attempting to destroy us and to lure us back again. But I got good news for you, church. Remain in the road that He is leading you to, and no plans of the enemy will prosper. It's not only Satan that's chasing us, but there will be other chasers too. But this time, they're God-placed chasers. Who here likes fresh fish? Who here, everybody likes fresh fish? Who here likes fresh fish? Sashimi? Who likes sashimi? Everyone likes sashimi. Okay, not a lot of people like sashimi, but everyone here likes fresh fish. You see, we recently, mom, dad, and I have been eating ulo, head fish head recently from Tito Noel. Because there's this app that he has because some people, they don't like the head of the fish. So what they do is they give it to people who do. And Filipinos, Asians, we love fish heads. We love it. We love it. And it turns into sinigang, turns into whatever you want. We love fresh fish. So, and then when dad ate this fresh fish, he was like, sariwa. This is so fresh. This tastes so good. It tastes so much better. You can actually taste the difference between fresh fish and frozen fish. You see, if you go to fresh fish, you'll never go back to frozen fish. You might, but because, let's not go there. But, you see, there's this story. There's this Japanese story. So what the Japanese love, fresh fish. Japanese love their sashimi. They love incredibly fresh fish. So what they do is they would sail further and further away from Japan because that's where the fresh fish are. That's where the most delicious fish are. So what they would do is they would catch these fish, put it into a freezer, go back to shore, sell the fish. But the Japanese said, this is not fresh fish. It doesn't taste as good as what we want it to be. So what did the Japanese do? You know what? Let's do something. Let's put an aquarium. Let's put a tank. Let's put a tank in the boat when we catch the fish. So what they do, they sailed out into deep waters, they got their fish, and then they put the fish that they caught into a tank so that they would be still living, they'd be still swimming, and then so that when they go to Japan, there will be fresh fish, right? So that the Japanese were like, this is the fish, this is the tuna, this is what we want, you know? So what they did, when they went back to Japan, they were like, it's not quite it, you know? It's not the same, the taste is still not there, it's still not fresh fish. So what did they do? Some Japanese fellow was probably like, let me think. All right, let's keep the tank, but this time, let's put a small shark in the tank. Let's put a small shark in the tank. And then, when they went into deeper ocean, they caught the fish, put the fish inside the tank. There was this tiny shark chasing them around, chasing them around, getting them active. The reason why the tank wasn't working before is because the fish got lazy. The fish got timid. So some of them would die down, some of them would get lazy, and when they got eaten, they were not as fresh. But this time, there was some shark chasing them around. It got them active. It got them up their feet. It got them aware. The presence of fear was in that tank. So when they brought them back to Japan, guess what the Japanese said? This is it. This is sushi. This is it. This is sashimi. Exactly, Tita Jane. You see, the more chasers, God will put a shark in your tank today, church. God has put a shark in your tank, in your life, to chase you around in your workplace, in your ministry, in your life, and just anywhere. He chases you around to get you active, to get you fresh for sushi. Get you fresh, church. Now, what do you mean fresh, Macko? It means to get you alive. You see, it didn't make them lazy. It made them more aware. It made them more better. So God's going to put people in your life to chase you down only for you to be better. Because you think, there's some people in our life and you think that, why are they always up in my grill? Why are they always chasing me around? I'm doing one thing, di ako nangingialam, but then this person just comes in and pakialams and just what's the English of pakialam? Meddles with us, And I'm like, man, stop meddling. I'm doing my own business. But little do we realize that this shark in our life is making us better because they're a shark that God put in our lives. Yeah? So church, remember, if your boss is chasing you around, if your boss is, the shark, remember what happens to the Egyptians at the end of the story. No, no, don't think about that. But it just makes you better. It makes you fresh. All right, he says here, the Israelites are confused. They are trapped in the wilderness. And God said, I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and they will chase after you. God will harden people's hearts. God will harden people's heart in your lives so that they may chase after you, so that they can make you better. That's why it's not easy. The road is not easy. There's always someone tailgating you. Always someone in your back, beeping at you. Beep, beep, flashing his lights. And sometimes you feel like you can't breathe, but let me tell you, it's the best for you. God put that person in your life. But listen to this, the moment that they are not helping anymore, you start to realize that those people who were those chasers before that were making you better, the moment that they stop helping you and they just start destroying you, that's when God takes them out of your life. You see, so if they're still in your life, they're still good for you. But if they're not in your life, yeah. Shark fin soup. You see, church, if the road was easy, it benefits no one. First of all, you're not growing if it's not easy. Second of all, God doesn't get the glory if it was easy, because you think that I'm the man, I'm going through life and life is a breeze. Church, L. Ron Hubbard says, man thrives, oddly enough, only in the presence of a challenging environment. So if you're going through challenges right now, if you're going through trials right now, you are thriving. You are better than who you were yesterday. So if there's someone in your life chasing you, church, that's always on your back, always on your case, let them chase you. Just let them chase you. Not only will you grow, but pretty soon, they keep chasing you, they'll know who you're serving. They'll know who your God is. Because what did it say? It said that the Egyptians, the chasers, will know who the Lord is. Let them chase you. Let them chase you to church. Let them chase you to life group. Let them chase you. Let them stalk you. Let them stalk you on your Instagram or on your Facebook, and they'll see, oh, that's why this guy's different. That's why this person's different. All right, the last point that we have here is, it's just another way to showcase His glory. See, it's not a dead end. It's just another way to showcase His glory. This time it's not a roundabout. This time it's an actual way for Him to showcase His glory. Have you ever been in a situation in your life where you're like, this can't get any worse. I'm at the lowest point of my life. Nothing can ever go wrong anymore because this can't get any worse. Nothing else can go wrong today. Nothing else can ruin this year. Nothing else can ruin my family. Nothing else can ruin my life. But then it does. But then something does happen. You're like, it can't get any worse. But then 10 days later, something does happen. And it's worse than what you ever thought. Well, that's exactly what the Israelites went through. You see, they went to the Philistine and they're like, oh no, we can't go there. We're stuck here. We can probably make it through, but we won't. But only 50% will make it through. Well, you know, God take us somewhere else. So what did God do? God took them elsewhere. But where did God lead them, church? God led them to the Red Sea. You see, I'd rather face the Philistines than face the Egyptians at a dead end. Some of us here would do that because the Egyptians is one of the biggest nations back then. Philistines, you know, we can probably take them. Well, you know, there will be 3 or 4 of us left, but I'd rather face the Philistines where there's open road than face the Egyptians at a dead end. Face these 600 chariots. All of the sudden, the impossible becomes even more impossible. It becomes impossible squared. It was impossible for them to go through the main road, which is Philistine territory. It's impossible, but God said, go to the Red Sea, which is even more impossible. You ever felt like this massive body of impossible is right in front of you, just after an impossible happened in your life? So some chaos, something happened in your life, and right after there's an even bigger impossible. That's what the Israelites are going through right now. Maybe that's you right now. Maybe you're by your Red Sea. Maybe you feel like you were just at the dead end of the Philistine territory, and now you're facing the dead ends of the dead end. The dead end of the dead ends, sorry. But let me encourage you today that it says in His Word, I have planned this in order to display my glory through Pharaoh and his whole army. After this, the Egyptians will know that I am Lord. The Lord hardened the Pharaoh's heart, the king of Egypt. So he chased after the people of Israel who had left with fists of defiance. You see, if you take a look at this, the Israelites thought that they won. Sometimes in our life, we think that God has taken us out of something and we're like, yes, we won. I did it. I'm the man. God, praise you, Lord, but I'm the man. I did some of this. You see, that's what the Israelites thought. The Israelites thought they were free from Egypt, free from the Philistines, and now it's an easy road to Canaan. It's an easy road to His promised land. So what did they do? They had their fist raised in defiance. What did they think? They thought that it was their victory. No, no, no. You see, it may be, we say that it's God's battle, but then when we start to win, we say it's our victory. But you see, it's God's battle, but it's also His victory. You know, that's why God was like, you know what? I'm taking you to the Red Sea. Keep your hands down. It's not your victory. But Moses told the people, you see, don't be afraid. Just stand still. Watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see will be never seen again. The Lord Himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. In other translation, Moses said, shut up! Shut up and just watch God do his thing. In other translation, it legit says, just keep your mouth shut. So I can imagine Moses. I can imagine the Israelites going, why did you bring us here? Why did you leave us here to die? You should have just left us to Egypt. Blah, 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 blah. All these nagging, all these complaints. But Moses was like, shut up! Alright? God will do something today. He will fight for you. All you have to do is shut up. All you have to do is be quiet. All you have to do is stay calm. Stay calm, church. Some of you need to realize today that whatever battle you're going through, it is not your battle, it is God's battle. And all you got to do is just stay quiet, keep your mouth shut, and let him do his thing. Stop meddling with God. Stop trying to take your own main road. Just let God do his thing, church, because he's about to show his glory in the next few verses. We all know how the story ends. You see, the reason why God put the Israelites to a bigger impossible thing, a lower probability thing, is because the lower the probability, the greater his glory. So the size of the probability is inversely proportional to the size of his glory. If you're not a stats major, what that means is the more impossible it is, the bigger his glory. The bigger the odds, the bigger the glory, church. So if you are going through the biggest odds of your life right now, just know that at the end of all this, my God is getting the glory. My God. And not only will I see it, my family will see it, my friends will see it, this church will see it, this nation will see it. You see, coronavirus seems impossible, but that's just another way for God to showcase his glory, church. That's just another way, church. Oh, coronavirus thinks they got us, but our God is bigger. If God took them out of the main road, and let's say, okay, let's think about it this way. Let's say that Israel went through Philistine and they won. And they say, yeah, God did it, but we did it too because we're such a strong army. No, God says, you know what? I feel like you're gonna credit yourself there. So let me take you to a place where you will know that no other name brought you out of here. Where you, not your strength, not your might, not your pastor, not your president, not your teacher, but me. God will take you to a place where you know no one can take you out of but him. Listen, church, he will take you out of there and you'll know at the end of this, that could have been no one else but God. That was definitely not my finances. Definitely not my wisdom and my knowledge. That was all God. You see, when God displays his miracle, when God displays his promise, he will make everybody know that it was done by no one else, not by might, not by power, but by his Spirit alone, church. By him alone. Everybody say, by him alone. No one else. And no one else. All right, I'm about to end. JC, can you just get back up here and help me display his glory? In Exodus 14:15, it says, the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying? Tell the people to get moving. Pick up your staff and raise your hand over the sea. Divide the water so the Israelites can walk through the middle of the sea on what? On dry ground. You know, did it say divide the water so that Israelites can walk through mellow waters? Shallow waters, sorry. To swimmable waters? Did God said to pick up your staff, raise it over the sea so that you may swim to your promised land? So that you may, swim to your promise so that you may walk over shallow waters to your promised land. No, it says so that you may walk to dry ground. Church, the very thing that was blocking you, that was hindering you, preventing you from receiving His promise will not touch you again. You see, if you take His main road, if God gives you His go signal, if God says, go ahead, Moses, if God says, go ahead, Joyce, if God says, go ahead, Jovi, if God says, go ahead, Jacob, go ahead and raise your staff, the very thing that was blocking you will not touch you again. You see, the very thing that was blocking the Israelites was a body of water. But what did they go through? They went through dry ground. The very thing that was stopping you from receiving His promise will not touch you when He says go. When He says go, your insecurity will not touch you again. When He says go, your depression will not touch you. When He says go, unforgiveness will not touch you. When He says go, family problems will not touch you. When He says go, sickness will not touch you. When He says go, unemployment will not touch you. When He says go, addiction will not touch you. When He says go, the tedious process of visa application will never touch you again. When He says go and buy your house, paying rent will never touch you again. Any stronghold of the enemy that was holding you back before from advancing to His promise, these will divide in front of you just like the Red Sea, and you will walk on what? Dry ground, church. You will walk on dry ground. Come on, someone here needs to declare to themselves today that when He says go, I'm walking on dry ground. Life Expressions Church, when God says go and get your building, rent will never touch us again. Maintenance issues will never touch us again. Emails will never touch us again. Lack of instruments will never touch us again. Lack of space will never touch us again. Restriction between days will never touch us again. Because this is our building. We can use it whenever we want, because God says raise your staff. The very thing that was in front of us will not touch us again. When God gives a go signal to this world for a vaccine for coronavirus, coronavirus will never touch us again. Now today, church, I want to encourage someone today that after this day, your old self will never touch you again. Did you heal? Your old self will never touch you again. Hannah, your old self will never touch you again. Neil, your old self will never touch you again. Your old self will never touch you again. And today it's not because of a staff. It's not because of some ordinary thing that God will use so that you may never touch, so that yourself may never touch you again. Today, God will not raise a staff. He will not raise an ordinary thing. Today, He will raise a name in your life. He will raise a name that will forever change you. He will raise a name that your life, that it will allow you to break away from the very thing that is hindering you to go closer to Him. Today, He will raise no other name but the name of Jesus in your life. Let me tell you something, church. If you take someone else's road, if you raise some other name in your life, your old self may touch you again. But the moment you raise no other name from this day on forward, your old self will never touch you again. Your past will never touch you again. The very thing that was holding you back before will never touch you again, church. All you have to do is just raise His name, the name of Jesus. so that your way will never, your old self will never touch you again. That's what we were talking about, but yeah. So now, it's not a roundabout, it's a dead end. The road to his promise is not always through the main road. Sometimes he'll take you to another road because he knows that main road will hurt you. Yeah, it's not a dead end, it's a roundabout, sorry. The road to his promise is not easy. And number 3, the greatest thing of all is that it's just another way for him to show off. It's just another way for him to show his glory. Because it's all about him. It's all about our Father. It's all about Jesus.